Hello guys, it's Cyprian. You are welcome to my YouTube channel. So in this video, I'm going to be breaking down my projection on XAUUSD for this week. Okay. So without wasting time, let's dive into the video. Firstly, we have to observe our top-down analysis approach first on the chart. So I usually start my analysis from the daily time frame to the 4 hours time frame, then to the 15 minutes time frame. So the daily time frame is for my directional bias. The 4 hours time frame is for my structural mappings. Then the 15 minutes time frame is for my execution. That's my entry confirmation as well. Okay, so let's dive in. Now, as you can see, price swept liquidity here, corrected to the upside, and reacted from this daily fair value gap zone. Okay, price couldn't feel it, but price just tapped it a little bit. Couldn't get to the 50%. That's the consequent encroachment. Just tapped it a little bit and traded down to this institutional reference point. Okay, traded down to this institutional reference point. Okay, now one thing about my trading approach is wherever my POI is and wherever I'm expecting price to dive into my POI, there are some certain things I'm expecting to happen on that particular place. There are some certain structures I'm expecting to kind of form up on that particular institutional reference point or POI. Okay, firstly, as price got to my institutional reference points, I'll be expecting a liquidity sweep and a shift in market structure. Okay, I'll be expecting a liquidity sweep and a shift in market structure. Then I will expect price to come down to my discount zone and mitigate or fill up an imbalance on my discount zone or another block. Okay, so then I will now target my I will now project it to my target. Okay, so now as price got to my institutional reference point, I actually waited patiently for all my criteria to be met, all my rules to be met. So firstly, I discovered what price swept down on this institutional reference point, creating an old low here, then retraces up to fill up this imbalance and used it as a momentum to dive down to grab this old low here, thereby resulting towards a liquidity sweep here. Okay, let me zoom in. So this is a liquidity sweep right here. All right, price swept liquidity here. So after the liquidity sweep, that's entry number one, confirmation number one met. After the liquidity sweep on my institutional reference point, because this is my POI, this is my point of interest. So I'm expecting this a shift in market structure on my point of interest. The reason why I'm expecting that is for me to, I'm just trying to see something, just to see a structure that will indicate that the buyers, the sellers are no longer in charge of this market, or the buyers are gaining momentum to take the market to the upside. You understand? So those are the structures. That's why as a trader, you have to be patient. Okay, you wait for your criteria to be met before you take your trade. Okay, so let's go. Now, after this liquidity sweep here, price displays to the upside, thereby forming a new high here that is higher than this previous high here. So there is a shift in market structure in this particular zone here. Okay, there is a shift in market structure in this particular zone here, this particular place here. Okay, shift in market structure. So in my reference point, I have a liquidity sweep here, actually sweeping an old high, then a shift in market structure, creating a new high here that is higher than this previous high right in this place. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to be expecting is I'm going to be expecting price. I'll be expecting price to retrace down to my discount level on this impulsive level that resulted to the shift in market structure. Okay, so I wait for price to retrace. Already, if you can spot it out, there is a fair value gap here already, but this fair value gap is too wide and it's actually on the daily time frame. So I have to hop down into the 4 hours time frame to look out for other confirmations and other confluences in line with my discount phase. You understand? So let us map out this zone. Picking up my range here, mapping it out from this low to this high. From this point to this midpoint is my premium. And from this midpoint to this low is my discount. So since I'm anticipating buying this market, I have to wait for price to retrace down to my discount phase. Then I will scale down to the 4 hours time frame to look out for discount arrays in confluence with my discount phase on the daily time frame. Okay, the reason why I have to scale down to the 4 hours time frame is for what? Is for clarity and more information on this market, on this particular market. Okay, so I have to scale down to the 4 hours time frame to look out for what? More confirmations on this particular impulsive leg. Okay, so you see what I'm expecting right now is I'm expecting price to actually delve down to this point, my discount phase. Then I will scale down to 4 hours time frame and align it with any 4 hours confluence. It could be an order block, it could be a fair value gap on this particular impulsive leg. So when price actually retraces down to that phase on the 4 hours time frame, then I will now look out for what? I will now scale down to 15 minutes time frame to look out for what? A shift in market structure as well. Okay, so without wasting time, let's dive into the 4 hours time frame. So this is our 4 hours time frame. Okay, this is our liquidity sweep on the daily. Then this is our shift in market structure. Okay, this is our shift in market structure. Then this is our dealing range. This is actually our dealing range. Okay, so now what I'm expecting to do is I'm expecting price to retrace down to this zone, to our discount zone. Any PDRA I'm going to be seeing on my premium zone is invalid. As you can see, this fair value gap, I will not consider taking this fair value gap. So I have to wait for price to dive down to my discount phase properly before I can think on what? Going to the 15 minutes time frame and waiting for what? A confirmation on my 15 minutes time frame. Okay, so now in our discount phase, we discover a fair value gap right here and an order block also in this place. Okay, let me map it out. Let me quickly delete this and map it out. So this is the fair value gap on the 4 hours time frame on our discount phase. Okay, then this is also the order block as well. Okay, so but I'm making use of this fair value gap here. So what I'm expecting price to do is I'm expecting price to retrace down to this zone. I'm expecting price to retrace down to this zone and give me a what? A sweep. Then a shift in market structure on the 15 minutes time frame. Okay, on the 15 minutes time frame. Then once I spot this structure on the 15 minutes time frame, I'm going to wait for price to retrace down and I will take my trade from this place, this particular point. All right, now as you can see here, price is already giving out a bearish structure right in this place. So I'm expecting price, as you can see, price swept liquidity here, then created a bearish order block here, then price actually corrected to mitigate the order block here. So I'll be expecting price to dive down to this 4 hours discount fair value gap zone. Then I'll scale down to the 15 minutes time frame to look out for what? A shift in market structure, this shift in market structure here. Then I will enter, and my target is going to be this fair value gap on the daily time frame. Okay, let me go back to the daily, because I will be expecting price to come sweep out this liquidity here. Remember, we don't predict, we react to the market. Okay, we react to the market. And meanwhile, this is not a financial advice. You guys should do your homework and hop in the charts, do your analysis, do your studies on the chart as well. Okay, so this is just my view on XAUUSD for the next week projection. Okay, so this is what I'm expecting. I'm expecting price on the daily time frame to, this is the daily time frame. I'm expecting price to come down to this 4 hours fair value gap zone, then give me a shift in market structure on the 15 minutes time frame, something like this, a structure like this, then this is my first target. Okay, expecting price to come take out this liquidity, this particular liquidity here, thereby filling this fair value gap properly, okay. So this is going to be my first target. So in any structure I'm going to be seeing on this particular higher time frame POI, point of interest, determines if I'm going to continue longing this market or maybe shorting this market and targeting this low right here. Okay, so guys, this is my projection for XAUUSD for next week. Thank you guys for watching, and do not forget to subscribe, like, and also comment too. Okay, thank you all. Peace out.